What it do, house crew? Back here with another video. The upload schedule ain't been that great, but promise we're gonna be back. We're gonna get back to these, consistent uploads. And I can't wait because I got some really good ideas. The whole GOAT list debate thing. It's been going on. Lucas Tracy bedtimes. They made the GOAT list. Might as well hop in and make my own GOAT list. Am I right? But today we're gonna be going over the main card, predicting all the fights in the main card for UFC Nashville, and let's get on with it. First fight on the card, we got Junior Tafa versus Tuco Tokos, and I'm gonna go with Tuco Tokos. Although he hasn't shown so much in his fights that he really can be competing in the highest level, I'm not confident in Tafa's light heavyweight transition. I know he was pretty small for heavyweight, and he was kind of a bit fat, and now he's like shredded and he's lean, and I think he'll definitely make a big impact on his performance. But I feel like Tuco's, he's been in light heavyweight. He has the physicality, he has the well-roundedness that a lot of heavyweights don't have, and I feel like the lighter man skill, especially when a guy moves down a division, the lighter man skill always prevails. I'm going full Lucas Tracy, but it's just the name of the game. I think Tuco Tokos is well-rounded enough, and I think he has shown in some moments that he can be good, but he has been fed a lot of good prospects. He got fed Navajo Sterling, and he got fed what's his name? It was Jean Mignon, right? Some really good prospects, and he got destroyed in both of those fights, but I feel like that doesn't take away that much from him because those two guys are pretty good. And you look at Junior Tafa, very underwhelming resume, not really a lot of good wins, and he's coming down into a division where there is a skill difference. Light heavyweight typically has more skill, more technicality in their striking and in their wrestling, and I feel like it's more well-rounded in terms of like the fighters there. And I feel like Tuco Tokos is going to be coming here, and I think this is a good fight for him. I don't think Junior Tafa is going to show technically a great fight. I don't think Junior Tafa is really exceptionally good at one simple thing. But Junior Tafa could surprise us. I feel like in light heavyweight, Junior Tafa could probably be better than he was in heavyweight. But I do believe in Tuco Tokos. Don't think those two losses are that bad. And I think he does have some potential, and I think he does have some moments. And one thing about Tokos is that he keeps fighting. Even when he's losing, he keeps fighting. And he's going to put on a different type of heart and pressure and resilience that Tafa hasn't faced before. So I think that Tokos is going to get this fight. I think Tafa's going to have some moments in the first round. It's going to have Tokos in some trouble. And then I think as the fight goes on, we're going to see Tokos kind of dial it back a bit. So I got Tokos by decision. Let's move on. Next, we got Vitor Petrino going up to heavyweight to fight Austin Lane. I'm going with Vitor Petrino. I think his stock has gone down really low, like really bad. And I know losing to Anthony Smith, Dustin Jacoby getting slept by him, not good losses at all. But he's not going up against a guy who literally has lost almost every fight he's had in the UFC. I think his only win was over Robelas to Spain. And Austin Lane does have a bit of a good grappling. I think it's due to the fact of his size. I think he uses his size pretty well in the grappling. He can have some good wrestling moments. And he was doing some bit of grappling against Jordana Diniz before he gets knocked out. But the thing is, he always gets knocked out. It's like He does good, and then he doesn't do good. And I guess Vitor Petrino's the same thing, too. Both of these guys kind of do fumble their fights. But I think Vitor Petrino is going to be coming in here, and I do think that he is going to find that shot on Austin Lane. Vitor Petrino does have a good left hook, or yeah, he has a good check hook, and he definitely does. He can catch you in a lot of spots. He is pretty technical. He has some good counter striking, and I think at heavyweight he's gonna be a lot more powerful. I think based on how he looks, based on how he looks in the media day, he looks pretty good for heavyweight. He bulked up properly. He's not fat like Ryan Spann, and this is the thing about it's like I don't trust light heavyweights going to heavyweight just because of the size difference and the fact they're not bulking properly. But maybe Ryan Spann is trash because Kennedy Nzechukwu went up and he's doing good. Jailton Almeida went up and he's doing good. I mean, I just think that Vitor Petrino's in that category where he's not as bad as Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann sucks. He sucks, and the fact that he lost and got KO'd by Waldo Cortez Acosta speaks out multitudes. But I don't think Vitor Petrino's like that. I think Vitor Petrino will get a good win here. I think he's going to knock out Austin Lane. So, that's all I got to say. Pete Petrino by knockout. It's going to be a lot of knockouts on this card. I'm glad to see it. Next, we got Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier. I'm hyped for this fight. I mean, any Nate the Train fight is good to watch. And he comes in there and he always brings the pressure. He always brings the fight. He has a really good pressure game. And he has good power. And when he wins, he wins. Like, he wins pretty dominantly. But after that Doo Ho Choi fight, it kind of did bring into question how good Nate Landwehr is, because if he's getting dominated by that hard by Doo Ho Choi, I don't see him winning against a Morgan Charrier. I think Morgan Charrier, he had a very devastating loss to Nathaniel Wood, who I think is pretty technically good. Nathaniel Wood's pretty good. I just think it's like, you know what I compare Nathaniel Wood to? Ludwig Klein. Because both of those guys are really good and really technical and have really good striking, and they're pretty well-rounded. But they don't do enough to bring them to the next level to where they start making noise. And it's the same thing with Nathaniel Wood. And I picked Morgan Charrier to win just because I felt like he would have been the more aggressive fighter, and he would have made Nathaniel Wood struggle, and maybe the power would have been the difference here. But Daniel Wood showed levels. He destroyed Morgan Charrier, and he almost finished him too. But he's now coming back, and I think that he's gonna beat Nate Landwehr. I think Nate does it really good against guys who aren't as high level as Morgan Charrier, and he does well against those guys. But you bring him a well-rounded guy who has some pressure, who has some technical striking, who can do good in high pressure situations. I think Charrier's fight with Mariscal was pretty close, and I think he did pretty good against Chepe. I just think that, in my opinion, Nate doesn't win these fights. He doesn't win the fights where he goes against a guy like Morgan Charrier, and therefore I have to pick Morgan Charrier. I think Morgan Charrier is going to put the pressure on. I think he's going to back Nate up, and I think he's going to intimidate Nate a lot. See it being a pretty dominant fight for Morgan Charrier. I could see Morgan Charrier maybe like mixing it up a little bit with the grappling, but I think it will be a very good win for Morgan. So I'm going to go with Charrier. And if I'm saying it wrong, please don't correct me. I don't give a fuck. Next, we got Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. This is a good fight. But Calvin Kattar, here's the thing. If you asked me 2 to 3 years ago that this fight was going to be made, I would have picked Cater any day. But Cater hasn't looked good at all in his last couple of fights. Granted, you know, yes, he lost to Max pretty bad, and he bounced back with a win over Giga Chikadze, and I felt like he did win that Josh Emmett fight. But then ever since that injury, it's like his footwork's gotten worse. His boxing isn't as like it isn't as technical. He isn't as like aggressive with himself. He kind of does. He doesn't really pressure like he does. Like I just think Calvin Kattar's gotten worse since that injury, and he's gotten so progressively worse to now where like a guy like Zalal is dominating Kattar. Like the first 2 rounds, Kattar couldn't land anything on Yusuf Zalal at all. Zalal was just picking him apart for 2 rounds, and then third round Zalal just decided to run away most of the fight. I don't know what that was about, considering that Zalal was doing good anyways in the second and first round. And then you look at the Aljamain Sterling fight, just utterly dominated. And I know it's Aljamain Sterling, but I thought Kattar would give him a good fight on the feet, but no, Aljamain Sterling just dominated him on the feet as well. It's like Kattar looks like a shadow of himself, and he's going on a decline. He's only getting older. He's slower. His footwork isn't as good. He doesn't have that style that, won these fights. He doesn't have it. This Calvin Kattar that dominated Giga Chikadze is not there anymore. It's not there. And I think the injury, his knee getting blown apart, the fact that he had to get surgery for multiple times, and being off that long of layoff, and while being pretty on the old side, I think it did kind of ruin Calvin Kattar's trajectory. And now he's being fed to the wolves. Steve Garcia, who's coming off a huge win streak, KO wins over Chase Hooper and Metzikel Costa and Choi, and it's like these are really good wins. Like the Metzikel Costa and the Chase Hooper wins are aging insanely well, very well right now. And one thing about Garcia, he will just keep pushing the pace. He will be in front of you. He will exchange with you, and he will take the fight to you. He closes the distance, pretty well, and he gets into that range. And I do see Kattar kind of taking advantage of that, considering that Zalal and Aljo were keeping it at distance, and that does tend to give Kattar some problems. But like Garcia is, he's in your face. Although Garcia has the reach advantage, he's in his face. He's not going to be using his distance in a fight. He's going to be in Kattar's face. He's going to be going there, and he's going to try to exchange. And I think in these exchanges, I think Kattar can shine. I just don't know if he's going to outstrike and hurt Garcia. I think Garcia is going to hurt Kattar. And Kattar has a chin like hell. He has a steel chin, but can Garcia crack it? Honestly, I don't think so. I think Kattar's chin is really good, and I don't think a guy like Garcia is going to crack it yet. So, I'm going to go with Garcia. I think he's just going to have a really good dominant first round. I think he's going to put the pace on Kattar. I think Kattar's just not going to have any time to start or gain his momentum or have that resurgence in the middle of the fight where it's like, oh shit, Kattar's coming back, like he did against Giga. I don't think he's going to have that, and I think Garcia's going to dominate him in this fight, and I'm going to go with Garcia. I'm going to go with Garcia by decision. Do I think he could drop Kattar, but I don't think he's going to finish Kattar. But Kattar's a tough guy to finish. I don't think he's ever been finished, he's never been finished in the UFC. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a dominant win for Garcia. I think it's going to be beat down. And I feel bad for Kattar, but I think this is one of these fights where he has to retire if he loses. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Garcia by decision. Next, we got the next fight on the card. Co-main, Stephen Thompson versus Gabriel Bonfim. Or Bonfim, however you say it. At first I was going to pick Wonder Boy, just because of that Dalby loss that Bonfim has on his record, where Dalby just utterly destroyed Bonfim, fraud checked him, just dominated him everywhere. And I was going to pick him because, if you're getting destroyed like that by Dalby, I just don't think you're on that level to beat a guy like Thompson. But I think Bonfim wins this. Stephen Thompson had a very good performance against Buckley, and he definitely was winning the fight before the KO. Is the ground game that suspects me. I don't think Wonder Boy is going to be defending game on Bonfim's takedowns. I think I think why Bonfim lost to Dalby, that he's probably going to win against Thompson. Thompson isn't like Dalby. Thompson's not a tank. He isn't a pressure fighter. He doesn't go in there and hit you with some bombs and finish you in the first round. He doesn't do that. He typically backs up. He typically kind of strikes from the outside, lets himself get backed up in the cage, and he's more of a counter striker. You'll never see him throw the first strike most of the time, and if he does, it's usually kicks, stomps, or he'll do this good question mark kick. He'll have a good body kick, and he was using those leg kicks too against Buckley as well, which were working really well. But against a taller guy like Bonfim, not really. I don't see that. And also, Thompson's getting older. He's 42 years old. It's been a while since he's last fought, too. And against a surging guy like Bonfim, who has the grappling advantage, who is honestly a decent striker himself, I think Bonfim is going to be able to push the pace in this fight. And with how Thompson backs up towards the cage, he lets himself get back up. I think it's a good opportunity for Bonfim to execute those takedowns. And I think what makes Bonfim different from Buckley is the way he grapples. I think Buckley's more of a wrestling dominant guy, while Bonfim is more of a BJJ kind of guy. And I think regardless of that fact, I don't see Thompson really doing much in this fight. I don't see him winning this fight. Because I was so disillusioned thinking like, oh shit, he did good against Buckley. He might win this fight. But did he really? He landed some good hits. He was winning on points, but he was getting taken down at ease. He was honestly getting ragdolled on the ground. And I had it 1-1 going into round 3. And then he got KO'd. When Buckley actually started to lock in. And I feel like Thompson, he goes against these good grapplers. He always just kind of fumbles it. I want to say fumble it, but he doesn't do well against good grapplers. And now he's going up against a good grappler. Am I saying Bonfim is as good as Muhammad, Shavkat, or Burns? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it's the style. It's just the style. Now, I think Wonderboy striking has always been pretty hard to kind of figure out and kind of enter in because he's so good at counter striking and he's pretty fast for a 42-year-old. Like for a 40-year-old, but for a 40-year-old, he is pretty athletic. And it's actually pretty impressive how athletic he is at that age and how he's still able to hang with the best. And in this fight, I don't see it being like a Holland situation where Holland just doesn't decide to grapple, even though he's a good grappler. He just decides to strike with Thompson. I think Bonfim is going to grapple with Thompson. He's going to go in there and try to take him down. And I think he's going to have success with that. I think he's going to be able to out-grapple Thompson pretty easily. And in terms of how that's going to gas him, because the gas tank isn't really all that. I mean, I'm not really concerned. So, I'm going to go with Bonfim. I think Bonfim is going to be able to kind of match Steven Wonderboy on the feet, and then he'll be able to throw in some takedowns and try to get him on the ground, and I don't see Thompson getting out of those takedowns. And with how Bonfim is so good on the ground, especially in his BJJ, I think I could see Thompson getting submitted here. I know not only Shavkat submitted him, but I just think Thompson hasn't gone against those elite, not elite, but those really aggressive BJJ grapplers, I mean, Burns was probably the closest one to it, and I wouldn't say Burns is more of a BJJ guy. He knows he has submissions, and he is good at BJJ, but he does like the ground and pound as well. But I think Bonfim is different compared to a Buckley or Muhammad, where instead of trying to go for a ground and pound and control, he goes for chokes, and I think that's where Stephen Thompson is going to fail. So I'm going to go with Bonfim. I think it's going to go submission. I think rounds 1 and 2, it's going to be pretty even. And I think round 3, I think he'll be able to get the sub off. So Next, we got the main event. We got Derek Lewis going against Teixeira. I'm going Derek Lewis. You can hear me? It's almost it's gonna be almost done.
Me and Dad are literally gonna be done all day tomorrow. Cause I'll be at.
I really wanted to upload it today though.
You have literally all day tomorrow when neither of us are here.
I'm almost done recording the video though. Alright, I'm back. I'm gonna go with Derek Lewis. I was gonna pick Teixeira. I really was. I really was believing in the hype. I looked at the Justin Taffa fight, and I legit convinced myself, yeah, Teixeira's gonna knock out Derek Lewis. But it's Justin Taffa. I'm sorry, but there were times where I bet against Derek Lewis. The Daukaus fight. With the Daukaus fight with Derek Lewis, Daukaus was on a huge KO streak, knocking out everyone. He fights Derek Lewis and he loses. And I bet against Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis, honestly, is pretty surprisingly good. Like, I'd say surprisingly. Yes, he's had a lot of losses. Yes, he's not really a high-ranked contender. But he's surprisingly good. He has wins over Teixeira, Volkov, and Blades, who are mainstays in the division. He went 5 rounds with Jailton Almeida, which, okay, I know it was a boring fight, but going 5 rounds with Jailton Almeida is insanely impressive. And then you also got the fact that, like, he's had the experience. And people like to say age, oh, he's 40 years old. He hasn't looked bad in his last few fights. Apart from the Almeida fight, he looked really well against these up-and-coming prospects. I think he was an underdog to Nascimento. But the problem is with Towson, he hasn't faced the competition to justify, me picking him over Lewis. He has 1 win in the UFC against Justin Taffa, and now he's all of a sudden the main event of a fight night in Nashville. He's number 13 with a win over Justin Taffa. He's ranked above Kennedy Nzechukwu, which is insane. I don't know what we see in this guy. I don't know why he's even ranked. He beat a 4-5 Justin Taffa, dog. And I just can't get over that. I don't want to pick Teixeira because I feel like Derek Lewis is going to fraud check this dude. It's not like Derek Lewis has been looking shit his last few fights and he's just, he's fallen off. Yeah, he's getting older, but it doesn't look like he's slowing down. He looks pretty good in his last couple fights. And he has like these things where he can do things that you don't expect him to do. He can do good trips. He can have really good moments in the clinch. And when he is losing, it's like he locks in and he just knocks out the guy with a good overhand. And I think that's going to happen to Teixeira. I think Teixeira is going to be winning. I think he's going to be doing really well against Lewis. And then I think Derek Lewis is just going to come in, lock in, do some shit, and knock him out. So I'm picking Derek Lewis. He's a big underdog, plus 210. If you want to make some money, go bet on Derek Lewis. Bet on Derek Lewis by KO. He's like plus 275. I mean, what more can I say, man? It's just what it is. Derek Lewis by KO. It's just pre-money, man. He has the most knockouts in the UFC. Knockouts over very good heavyweights. And yeah, he's had some brutal losses tied to Vasa and Pavlovich. I just don't think Teixeira is on their level. So, I think Derek Lewis wins this. Anyways, that'll be all. See ya. GOAT list video coming out in a couple days. Don't worry, guys.